If we haven't met, my name is Martoinne, and thank you. I've been a part of Mosaic for a little over 6 years now. And last night, Pastor Carlos and I were on the phone, and he said, bro, what haven't you done at Mosaic? I said, I haven't done this at Mosaic. But I've had the privilege of being a part of our Mosaic Seattle campus. Somebody back there is repping Seattle, yes. I've been a part of our Mosaic South Pasadena campus. One of the first things I did when I got to Mosaic was I was an intern here. I get to travel the world with Pastor Kim McManus. This community means so much to us. And when I say us, I mean my incredible wife, Rhea, and I. Outside of Mosaic, I get the privilege of traveling to different organizations and speaking to them about diversity and inclusion and how to create spaces of belonging. I get to do that, and I'm so grateful for that. But this today, y'all, this is like home team right here. This is like the talk of my life. So I just want to publicly thank Pastor Erwin McManus for trusting me. And Rhea and I are parents, and one of the things that parents do is we dote over our children, and maybe I might have said, hey, production, if you have time, maybe you just throw some pictures of my kid on the screen. I don't know. Maybe they'll show up. Maybe they won't. I don't know. Oh, there she is. Wow, yes. Rhea and I are, my twin, thank you. Rhea and I are the parents of Windley. She is joy personified. She keeps us on our toes. We love her so much. She's amazing. And so Rhea and I have been married for 11 years. Rhea's dad is here, and he can tell you we were married when we were children. We were like probably not old enough to be doing anything, but we got married. And June 5th actually was our 11-year wedding anniversary. And we've had so many defining moments in our marriage. From like the moment that Rhea told me she was pregnant, the moment that we had our daughter. So many incredible moments have taken place in our marriage. But there's one moment that is forever etched in my mind. And it is the moment that happened just before we were married. It was the moment where I decided I was going to man up. I'm not going to string this girl along. Oh. And there was the day that I decided that I was going to propose to Rhea. Such a monumentous moment was a catastrophe. So, I planned our proposal. They say like women like plan their weddings from the moment they're in the womb. That's not what guys do. We're more of like the proposal. Like the proposal is our moment to the proposal is our moment. And it was no different for me. I said, you know what, I'm gonna plan this day. We went to dinner, and then after dinner, we had a late dinner. After dinner, we're gonna go to the beach. Our favorite beach was Manhattan Beach. We would go to the pier. I'm gonna get down on one knee. I'm gonna propose. She's gonna faint. But what actually happened was, after we finished eating, Rhea says like, I'm really tired. And she's like, I kind of don't even feel the greatest. I'm ready for you to drop me off at home. And I was like, but you can't go home just yet. And so I had to do it that day because Rhea's parents knew that I was doing it that night. And if we would have walked in the house, they would have been like, ah, and I'd be like, no. So it had to happen that night. Well, Rhea is like, we're driving, and she's like, I am so tired. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's cool. I just figured we'd go on the drive. Why? I told you, I'm tired. I don't feel good. Well, I just thought we'd go on the drive. And she's like, okay, fine. So we go on the drive, and she's like, where are we going? I was like, I thought it would be cool if we went to the beach. I did not propose to Rhea in the summer. It was like fall. And so she's like, the beach? It's like 40 degrees. It's cold. I don't feel good. I'm tired. Oh, and by the way, I have a skirt on. I'm going to be freezing. I don't want to go to the beach. So we get there, and we're just like kind of fighting the whole way there. And we get there, and I get out the car, open her door. She's like, I'm not getting out. I'm like, but you have to get out. So she finally gets out. We get to the pier. She's upset. She's angry. She's like, I don't know why you brought me here. It's cold. I'm tired. I don't feel good. What are we doing here? I was so frustrated. I took the ring out of my pocket and said, this is what we're doing here. And in that moment, you could see her face turn from like, oh my God, this is that night. I didn't even get down on one knee. She's like, no, do it all over. Start over, please. Get down on one knee. I promise. Okay. So we stepped into that moment. I proposed to her, and it was incredible. Here we are 11 years later. It worked, okay? But there was something so interesting about that moment. I had to continue to choose who I would be in that moment that would define our relationship. I had to constantly choose. All right, no matter what happens, whatever she says next, I got to choose to be ready. I'm cold. You know what? It's a perfect time for me to give you my jacket. I had to choose to be compassionate, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how to show up in the moments that define us. And today is like a super significant day for me. It's Father's Day, and it's Juneteenth. And as I kind of grappled through what it means to be a father, what it means to be a husband. See, I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up in South Central LA. I grew up in Watts. I had to grapple with what it means to be a father because I didn't have my dad in the house. I grew up with an incredible mom. She raised us. She taught us right. She's sitting right here. You can clap for my mom. But I had to grapple with what it means to be a husband, what it means to be a father. And then the symbolism of these 2 days converging on the same day made my thought process go a little even deeper. It's not just about now what it means to be a father, what it means to be a husband, but I found myself wondering and thinking through what it means to be a black husband. I found myself wondering, what does it mean to be a black father? And I think about these 2 days, Father's Day. It's the day we celebrate dads. It's the day we celebrate the sacrifice. It's the day we honor dads. Because becoming a father, becoming a parent is a defining moment. And then I think about Juneteenth. It's a day where we honor and celebrate the moment that the last slaves found out that they were free. It's a day that they had been praying for and not sure that it would ever come after years of anguish, years of pain, years of hurt. It's the day that finally came. It was a momentous occasion. But even more than those moments, we need to talk about the choices that are required to be made in those moments. See, because having a child, creating a child, that's the easy part. But stepping into parenthood, that's a choice. That's intention. And as I even thought through the day that the slaves finally found out, the last slaves found out that they were free. After years of hundreds of years of oppression, in that moment, the moment they found out they were free, they had to choose to leave their chains. And here's the thing I know about defining moments. You may not ever be able to forecast when they're coming. You may not ever be able to predict them or plan for them, but you can 100% choose who you will be in those defining moments. So I want to read a passage to you because if we're going to talk about these defining moments and choosing who you are going to be in those moments, you have to make a couple choices. And the first passage I want to read is in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 3. It says, we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character. And character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. So when you find yourself in a defining moment, the first choice you have to make is to choose perseverance. Most people maybe know this about me, kind of a secret, but I used to work in law enforcement. And it was a time in my life. And anyone who has ever worked in law enforcement or is ex-military, there's a day that everyone dreads. It's called OC Day. Has nothing to do with Orange County. We love Orange County. But OC, its technical term is oleoresin capsicum. What does that mean, right? You're like, what? In its simplest terms, OC is pepper spray. And so there's a day that comes, it's called OC Day, and it's a day where you guessed it, you're gonna get pepper sprayed. And so I was into this training academy, and they would tell us there's a day coming where you're gonna get pepper sprayed, but they never told us what day it was. So we showed up every day it's the day, it's the day, it's the day. And it wouldn't be the day. But there was one day we knew, this is the day, because these drill instructors are looking too happy today. It's like, it smells like a day for pain. And so really quickly, we step into this moment where we have to get pepper sprayed, and I'm like, I don't know if I have what it takes to do this. I didn't. And so we step up to the plate, and they're like, all right, we're going to pepper spray you. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And they're like, here we go, okay? And they pepper spray me. And at first I was like, did you do it? Did it happen yet? About 2.5 seconds later, I said, it happened. And so I'm running around screaming at the top of my lungs, and I'm not talking about a manly oh. I'm talking like Windley, 18-month-old, the scream she lets out when Rhea tells her she can't watch no more Cocomelon. Screaming at the top of my lungs, and I just stopped, and I said, I can't do it. I'm done. I quit. And I'm standing there, I can't see, and I'm like, I can't breathe, see? And the drill instructor runs over to me if you couldn't breathe, you couldn't say, I can't breathe. I'm like, okay, I don't think I can breathe though, I don't know. So we go through this moment, it's terrible. I never gave birth to a child, but I figured this is like the male equivalent, I don't know. I'm sorry, Rhea, I'm sorry. Sorry. And so we go back and we have a debrief. And I'm sitting in the back of the room and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. My eyes are still hurting. And one of the things they say to us is hey, the reason why we have you go through this is because we want you to experience the pain that comes from this spray. And then the thing is, after they spray you, you have to complete an obstacle course. Yeah. And they told us that the intention behind this is because, hey, we want you to know that in the moment when it feels the worst, in the moment where the pain is so unbearable, in the moment where you feel like I have to quit, you still have fight in you. And I just feel like that moment is not just symbolic of my pepper spray experience. That moment is symbolic for you right now. Maybe you've experienced a certain level of pain. You found yourself in a moment that really matters, and you're saying, I don't think I can go on. I don't think I can do anymore. I don't think I have what it takes, but I'm here to let you know that even in your most painful moments, you have everything in you to keep fighting. And one of the things they did to us is they told us, all right, we're going to spray you. And they said, okay, on 3. 1, 2. And we asked, why did y'all do that? That's cruel. And they said, well, guess what you're going to do if we spray you on 3? You're going to close your eyes. And we don't want you to close your eyes. We want you to feel every bit of it. And I feel like in the moments that matter in your life, you've got to choose to say that even though I don't know when it's coming, even though it may catch me off guard, I still have to fight. And meanwhile, I had a partner, her name was Sanchez. She's about this tall and like 125 pounds wet. She was the smallest little thing. And Sanchez was my partner going through this. And like, I was like, there's a moment where I was like, where's Sanchez? I need Sanchez. And they're like, Sanchez is done, bro. She's finished. Afterwards, I said, Sanchez, how'd you do that so fast? How'd you get through that? And she said, I just made a choice because I know that this is where people quit. I know this is where people give up, and I made a choice that this is not going to be the thing that makes me quit. I said, wow, was that easy? And I realized that the moments that are hard, like, have you ever noticed it's easy to quit? It's so much easier to quit than it is to keep going, right? Wouldn't it just be easier to just say, hey, I'm done, right? Wouldn't it just be easier to quit the job instead of showing up on time? Ooh. Wouldn't it just be easier to just like not invest in relationships? Wouldn't it just be easier to quit? But here's the thing I've learned about quitting. Quitting is instant satisfaction. Perseverance, oh, that's like deferred compensation. It's like making small deposits for a big return later. And so when you find yourself in moments that will define you, moments that will shape you, moments that will change the trajectory of your family, you've got to be committed to saying, I choose perseverance and not the quitting option. Because the truth is, most of the things that came easy in my life were not actually even worth holding on to. So I ask myself all the time, like, why is it? If the scripture says, like, character, it's supposed to be hard. If it says that, why in the world do we say in the hope that the epitome of the good life is a life filled with ease? What if I told you that your life was never meant to be easy? It was meant to be meaningful. So when you find yourself in a defining moment, you got to choose perseverance. But you also have to make another choice, and you have to choose servanthood. There's a passage in Mark 10, verse 43. It says, it's Jesus speaking. He says, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Simple translation. It's going to be easy. You don't have to have a theology degree to understand this one. Jesus is saying, it ain't about you. He's saying here, if you want to be great, learn to be small. And there have been so many moments in my life where I've said, God, I want to be the best communicator. God, I want to be the best creator. God, I want to be the greatest. And I felt like God said, yes, I want that for you too. I wish more of you wanted greatness. I felt like he was speaking that to me. But in that moment, I felt like he also told me, in your pursuit to be great out there, don't forget the things that you have right in front of you. And what's right in front of me is fatherhood. When my daughter wakes up, at 4 a.m., I choose to serve. But there are moments where you're going to have to choose servanthood. I want to be great. I want to be the best. And I feel like God told me, hey, you know what? Be great. But in your home, when you think you've extended enough patience, give more. When you think you've been kind enough, be more kind. When you think you've finally got a chance to relax, lean in even more. Because I have to take on the responsibility and the mantle and the role that he's given me to lead my wife, to lead my daughter, to lead my family. And in order for me to be the greatest husband, the greatest communicator, the greatest whatever, I've got to learn to be the smallest. So prior to working for law enforcement, I worked security, which is fine. No, it's fine, seriously. I'm serious. I'm going to keep going. So Ria's parents had one stipulation. I said, we're really young. They said, hey, you can marry our daughter, but she better finish college. You can marry her, but she's got to finish school. I said, okay, we can do that. And so that meant that Rhea wasn't going to really be able to work a lot. That meant she wasn't going to be able to spend a lot of time working. She was going to have to finish school. And so at that time in my life, I was surveying the landscape for potential career opportunities to match my professional experience. I didn't have a job. That's what that means, okay? And so I took this job on. I took this security job on, which is fine. I took this job on, but I didn't do just regular security. You know what kind of security I did? My job was to go to a stadium. And that's fine. Working in the stadium's cool, but my job was to work in the bathroom at the stadium. One day, a drunk dude came to the office, into the office. One day, a drunk guy came to, now, okay, ladies, the guys get this. Ladies, if you've never had the privilege of walking into a men's restroom, don't, okay? Especially at a stadium, it's terrible. One day, this drunk guy comes in and he's like, whoa, I thought I had a crappy job. And I say, yeah, quite literally, this is a crappy job. And I remember standing in that bathroom. I remember going home telling Rhea, this is not what I thought when I had greatness in mind. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I expected. This is not what I dreamt of when I thought of my life. But I can tell you right now, I'm so mind blown at the things that I get to do with my life. The moments that I get to step into, I'm so grateful, but I know that the greatness that I've stepped into is tied to the moment that I was willing to serve and be the least among these. So you got to choose perseverance in your moments that define you. You have to choose servanthood in the moments that define you. And lastly, you have to choose courage. You have to choose courage. There's a passage I want to read. It's so amazing, this passage to me. It's in 1 Chronicles chapter 28. And it's a moment where David is talking to his son Solomon. And when I was reading this, I almost missed the significance of this passage today. David says to Solomon, he says, David also said to Solomon, his son, be strong and courageous and do the work. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God, my God, is with you. He will not fail you or forsake you until all the work for the service of the temple of the Lord is finished. See, David was telling his son, hey, son, it's not going to be easy. Hey, son, it's going to be hard. And you know what? You know who's supposed to do the work? It's you. He had all the plans laid out for him. He had, hey, this is everything that's going to take to build this temple. And he said, it's up to you to do. And honestly, if you read this too fast, you can miss the divine moment that is happening here. It is a father speaking to his son. It is a father telling him that he can do hard things. Because a father is an example. A father is an encourager. A father affirms. A father keeps it 100. And in this moment, David is saying to Solomon that I need you to choose courage, because courage creates room for the miraculous. And he says, what you're going to do with this temple is going to be incredible. It's going to be amazing, but you have to do the work. You have to choose to be courageous and do the work. And I tell you, this one is hard for me. This is the passage. This is the choice that's hard for me. Because if I could just be totally honest with you, I was so afraid to become a father. Rhea can tell you I got to moments where I was like, hey, maybe we're good. Maybe we don't need a child. Maybe it could just be us. We can totally, and she's like, but is that what we really want, or is this just fear talking? Because I didn't think I had it in me. I didn't think I had what it took to be a father. See, because my story was that I grew up in a single-parent home. I didn't have the best of relationships with my father. It was virtually non-existent. And I can remember the moments in my life as a teenager, I just went crazy. I did so many. I was so disrespectful to my mom. I was so defiant, and I realized, like, there were moments in my life where I was like trying to fill a void with so many other things. And I remember, like, my mom looking at me so many times and saying, "Martoinne, I'm doing the best that I can." And so because of that, I was afraid. I don't know if I have what it takes, because see, in my community, South Central, where I grew up in Watts, here in Los Angeles, fatherlessness, it's like an endemic that robs so many children of their future. And I was like, certainly, I'm just gonna repeat that pattern. But the irony is, after you become a parent, in an interesting way, you gain more understanding for your own parents. See, my father, I didn't know him well enough to know his story. One of the most fond memories I have of him is the morning of my wedding. My phone rings at 6 a.m. And I don't even recognize the number. And I answer the phone and I pick it up and I say, "Hello?" It's like, "Hey, son, it's your dad." Okay. He says, "I want to let you know, I know I haven't been the best father. I know I haven't been the best. I know. But I heard you're getting married today. And I want to take this day to show you how sorry I am. I want to take this day to show you that it's going to be different from here on out." And he said, "I wouldn't miss this day for the world, because I know that I haven't showed up for you. But today, that's going to change." Fast forward, sitting in the airport, drive with my new wife on the way to what's supposed to be the most exciting time of our life. And I'm sitting in that airport sobbing because he didn't show up. And courage in that moment looked like forgiving someone who never said sorry to me. And there will be moments in your life where the pain feels like too much to bear, and you feel like you're buckling under the weight of the pain, and you feel like you just can't muster up the courage that it takes to show up in this defining moment. But I'm here to tell you that you can do hard things. My dad died a few years ago. And I got a call, "Your dad's passing." I said, "Okay." In that moment, I was like, I could choose to just kind of let him do his thing, Haven't been there, you haven't been there for me. Why should I, in my most detriment moments, why should I be there for you? But I stepped into that moment. I don't even know his story enough to know if he even had the capacity to be a father. But in that moment, Rhea and we went to his bedside as he was dying. I sat there. So all these people come in and out of the room saying how great of a man he was. All these people saying he was like a father to me. He taught me how to barbecue. He taught me how to ride a bike. All of these things, and I sat in that moment. See, because the story that I had told myself was that, he doesn't have the capacity to do it. But here I'm seeing all these people come into this room and show me that he did have the capacity. And I had this internal, I was like, I've done the therapy. I've done all this stuff. Why am I feeling this in this moment? But I stayed. I went to his funeral. And that is by far probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I'm sitting on the front row with my siblings. And people are getting up and saying all these things about him, and they're honoring my brother and my sister. They're saying, "We love you, we'll be there for you." I'm sitting right next to them, and they never even acknowledged me. But choosing courage in that moment, I stayed. And choosing courage in that moment looked like allowing myself to love someone who I never felt that love in return. So being a good father, being a good husband, being a good man is about showing up with servanthood. It's about showing up with perseverance. It's about showing up with courage. And maybe today you find yourself on the cusp of a defining moment. And you say, maybe I've just been trying to do this life on my own. I've been trying to persevere. I've been trying to have courage, but for some reason, I just don't feel like I have enough of what it takes to be that. And you know what? You're right. Because courage alone is not courage at all. Courage is accepting that there might be something, someone bigger than me, who knows better than me. And I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to have all the understanding, but I step into this moment. And for you, some of you right now, that moment is Jesus tugging at your heart right now. So if you wouldn't mind, just bow your heads. And you find yourself in a defining moment right now. You say, I came here, I stumbled in here, a friend brought me here, and I'm not really sure what to do with all of this. But I want to tell you what you're supposed to do is choose courage, choose servanthood, choose perseverance. And in this moment, you are required to persevere. You're required to show up and acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. And what I would love in this moment is if you say, I know I'm in a defining moment. I need to give my life to Jesus. I need to step over the line of faith. If you say that, I want you to boldly step into this moment with so much courage and raise your hand and repeat this prayer after me. Say, Jesus, I give you my life. Jesus, I give you my life. It's a simple prayer. It's not the only prayer that you'll have, but it's a good place to start. God, I pray for these people who say, I'm in a defining moment and I want to step into the unknown and the risk of all of this, and I give my life to Jesus. Father, I pray that they feel every bit of who you are in their lives right now. I pray that this defining moment of lifting their hand and stepping into faith with you is the beginning of several defining moments that they show up for. Meet them in Jesus' name. Hey, can we just clap our hands for all those people who just gave their life? And so maybe you might leave here today and guess what? You might find yourself in a defining moment because you can't predict when they're going to happen, but you can choose who you will be in the moments where they do happen. And so today, you need to make the choice to be filled with perseverance. You need to make the choice to be filled with courage. You need to make the choice to be filled with humility and serve others. Because your defining moment is coming. And I don't want you to miss the moment because it feels too hard. I don't want you to miss who God is trying to make you and mold you into because it doesn't look easy. I want you to step into the hardness, step into the unknown, step into the chaos, and give everything you've got to showing up in that moment, showing up with character, showing up with humility, showing up with serving. Because the question is not, when will my defining moment come? But the question is, who will I be when my defining moment comes? God bless you. Thank you.